Good morning, students. In the last lecture of the operating system, we have discussed about the deadlock and the necessary conditions for the deadlock. We know that a deadlock is a situation where a set of processes are blocked because each process is holding a resource and waiting for another resource, and that another resource is already acquired by some other process. That means a deadlock is a situation where there are n number of processes are available and the processes are going to be in a blocked state, because here in this condition one process is holding one resource and that process is requesting for the another resource which is already held by some other process, and this situation we called as an deadlock. Consider the example where the two trains are coming toward each other on a same track and there is only one track. Then in this situation none of the trains can move once they are in a front of each other. This is a deadlock situation. Similar situation occurs in the operating system where there are two or more processes hold some resources and wait for resources which is held by another process. Then after that we were discussed about the conditions for the deadlock. There are four conditions, that are mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption and circular wait. These conditions are for the deadlock. Now in this lecture we will start our next point, that is deadlock handling. How to handle a deadlock situation. There are number of methods. By using that methods we are easily handle the deadlock situation. First we will see the deadlock prevention method. We know that the deadlock happens only when the mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption and the circular wait holds simultaneously. Whenever the deadlock conditions occurred into the operating system, at that time the deadlock occurs. If it is possible to violate one of the four conditions at any time, then the deadlock can never occur into the system. If we violate one of the condition for that deadlock, then deadlock condition never occurs into the operating system. If we are getting successful to violate one of the four conditions, that are mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption and circular wait, then at that time the deadlock can never occur into our system. The idea behind this deadlock prevention approach is very simple. That we have to fail one of the four conditions, but there can be a big argument on its physical implementation in system. The deadlock prevention method implementation is very easy, because if we have to fail one of the four conditions, then deadlock prevention method provides the different methods. By using that methods we can prevent one of the condition, but the big argument on its physical implementation in the system. Let's see what are the different conditions. Because of that condition, how we prevent the deadlock. Deadlock prevention. Let's discuss the brief description of the deadlock prevention. Deadlocks can be prevented by preventing at least one of the four conditions required. Deadlock can be prevented. Deadlock can be prevented by preventing, by avoiding, by violating at least one of the condition. We know that there are 4 conditions. Because of that conditions, the deadlock is occurred into system. If we are getting successful to violate one of the condition of the deadlock, then the deadlock situation never occur into the system. Let's see the conditions. First one is the mutual exclusion. The mutual exclusion condition told that is at least one resource must be non-shareable mode. Non-shareable mode means if suppose one process is holding one resource, then if that resource is shared in a non-shareable mode, that means that resource is not shared by any other process until the first process execution is completed. This is non-shareable mode. That means the mutual exclusion condition told that the at least one resource must be in a non-shareable mode. Shareable resource, in contrast, they do not require mutually exclusive access and thus cannot be involved in a deadlock. The good example of this is the read-only files. The read-only files are a good example of shareable resource. Suppose if several processes attempt to open a read-only file at the same time, then they can be granted simultaneous access to the file. Then here a process never needs to wait for a shareable resource. In short, the mutual exclusion condition tells that the one or more than one resource are in a non-shareable mode for any process into the operating system. That means only one process can use at a time that particular resource. This is a mutual exclusion condition. Then next condition is the hold and wait. The next deadlock prevention method is the hold and wait condition, elimination of hold and wait. To ensure the removal of hold and wait condition, we should ensure that whenever a process requests resources, then it should not hold by any other resources. First, we should ensure that whenever any process requests for any resource, then at that time that particular resource cannot hold by some other resource. That process not hold any other resource than that particular requested resource. Here one protocol can be used. It states that it is necessary for every process to request resources and get all the requested resources before its execution begins. To follow this rule, it is necessary that system calls requesting for resources for a process should precede all other system calls. For elimination of hold and wait condition, there is one protocol defined, there is one rule defined that before the execution of that particular process, that defined process must hold all the resources that the process required. That means if any process, if there is one process P1 and P1 requires the printer and scanner, both resources for their execution, then in this condition the resource P1 must hold the printer and scanner before its execution begins. This is an hold and wait condition elimination protocol. For eliminating hold and wait situation, there is another one protocol. There is another one rule that another protocol permits a process to request the resources if and only if it has got no resources. The process can request for a resource if and if only in the condition where it has got no resources. If that particular process having no resources, at that time only that particular process request for a particular resource. This is another rule. There is another one condition that if a process can request for a few resources and utilize them, then this process should release the devices or the resources which are allocated currently before it requests for a new resource. That means the process requires the processes holding resources must release them before requesting new resource. That means if any process requests for any resource, at that time first it should releases all its resources, all its allocated resources, then and only then it can request for a new resource. That means before requesting new resource, first it should releases all its allocated resources. Let's take one example. Imagine a process which needs to copy data from DVD to hard disk. Imagine there is one process which needs to copy the data from DVD to hard disk. Sort those files on a disk and take printout of that particular data. According to our first protocol, this process will request for a DVD drive, disk and printer, because there are three tasks: copy the data from DVD to disk and then take the printout of that particular data. So it requires the DVD drive, disk and printer. So according to our first rule, this process will request for a DVD drive, disk and printer. Then it will hold the printer till it finishes working with DVD drive and disk. In case of second protocol or in case of second rule, the process will request only DVD drive, disk only, then it will finish working with these both resources and then will put a request for a printer. First, the copy process is complete. For copied condition, there are two resources required, that are DVD drive and tape drive. DVD drive and hard disk. So first it allocate DVD and hard disk, and after copying the data to DVD to hard disk, then it requests for a printer. But when the process requests for the printer, before it releases the DVD drive and disk drive, and after printing data, the printer will also be released. The printer will also be released from that particular process. This is an hold and wait method. The third condition for deadlock is that resources should not be preempted that are already allocated. Preempted means what? Suppose if any process hold some resource, then until its completion, another process cannot preempt that particular resource. This is a no preemption condition. To make sure that this condition should not occur, we may use the following protocol. For reviewing the no preemption condition, we may follow this rule. The protocol states that if the process is presently holding some resources and request for more resources, then the new requested resources can be immediately given to it, and resources that are it holding currently are preempted. If the process requests for some resources and then it is checked whether they are available, then if not, then checked with waiting processes, which is waiting for additional resources. In this case, we preempt the required resources of waiting processes. The resources will be preempted only if requesting process requests it, and until the process will restart only if it is gets the requested resources and its preempted resources. This is the removal of no preemption condition. In short, the no preemption condition states that if a process is having, or if a process holding some resources and it requests for more resources, then at that time the newly requested resources can be immediately given to it, and the resources that is it holding are currently preempted. That means it checks, for example, it checks in a waiting queue. Suppose in a waiting queue, one process requires the additional resources. In this case, we preempt the required resources of the waiting processes, and the resources are given to the currently running process. This is the no preemption condition. Then last condition is the circular wait. In this case of elimination of circular wait, it is necessary to order the resources in such a way that circular waiting will never occur. We should order the resources in such a manner in that the circular waiting is not present, or the circular wait can never occur. While ensuring this, the order of different resources is made like first R1 resource is there, next R2, next R3. Every resource set will be given a higher number than the previous one. That means in a order to request resource Rj, a process must first release all Ri such that I is greater than equal to j. Suppose any process request for a resource Rj, then the process first release all its before resources. That means it first releases all Ri resources and then it requests for the resource Rj. This is an circular wait condition. So, the deadlocks can be prevented by preventing at least one of the four these conditions, that are mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption and circular wait. By removing at least one by preventing at least one of these four conditions, we are preventing the deadlock from our system. Now, let's see another one method for handling a deadlock condition, that is deadlock avoidance. The general idea behind the deadlock avoidance is to prevent the deadlocks from ever happening. That means by preventing at least one of the four mentioned conditions, that are mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption and circular wait. And this technique requires the more information about each process and tends to lead to low device utilization. That is, it is a convenience approach than the deadlock prevention. This deadlock avoidance technique ensures that the deadlock should not occur into the system. But in the deadlock avoidance technique, the additional information is required, like what resources will be required for the process for the execution. For example, there are two processes, process P and process Q. Suppose P may need a tape drive and printer for the execution. Similarly, at the same time, process Q also needs a printer and tape drive for execution. Both the process P and Q needs the printer and tape drive for its execution. If the system gets this data before the resource allocation, then it can have different ways or algorithms to allocate the available resources in such a way that circular wait will never occur. The deadlock avoidance algorithm dynamically checks the state of a resource allocation, that the state could be safe or unsafe. In the deadlock avoidance, the state is checked, that is, a resource state is safe or unsafe. Then what is a safe state? The state can be called as safe state if the system is capable of providing the resources to each and every process up to its maximum value or as per its requirements. The state is safe whenever the system is capable of providing the required resources to each and every process. And if a safe state cannot be a deadlock state. And a deadlock state is called as unsafe or unsafe state. In an unsafe state, system is not able to allocate the different resources required by the process. That means in an unsafe state, the system is not capable to allocate the resources to the defined process. This is the deadlock avoidance method. In the deadlock avoidance method, there are safe state and unsafe state. There is a concept of safe state and unsafe state. Safe state means what? If an operating system is capable to provide the number of resources as per the process requires, and the deadlock state is called as a unsafe state. That means the system is in unsafe state, and whenever all the requested resources are successfully provided by the operating system, then in this situation the system is in safe state. This is a brief description of the safe state. In short, a state is a safe if the system can allocate all the resources requested by all the processes. That means if a system can fulfill the requirements of all the processes, then the system is in safe state. And when the deadlock is occurred into the system, then at that time the system is in unsafe state. Let's take one example. See this example. Here is an unsafe state and safe state. Safe state means what? Here system can fulfill all the requirements of its processes, and system is in unsafe state whenever the deadlock is occurred into the system. For example, a system with 12 tape drive allocated as follows this is a safe state. What is the safe sequence? See this example. Consider a system with 12 magnetic tape drives and 3 processes. Suppose there are 12 tape drives and there are in a system there are 3 processes, that are P0, P1 and P2. Process P0 requires the 10 tape drives. The process P0 requires the 10 tape drives. The process P1 requires the 4 tape drives, and the process P2 may need up to 9 tape drives. Suppose that at the time T0, the process P0 is holding the 5 tape drives, process P1 is holding a 2 tape drives, and process P2 is holding 2 tape drives. Then there are 3 tape drives are free because the current allocation of these 3 processes is 9. So there are 3 tape drives are free in this condition. But whenever at the another time moment, whenever at time T1, what happens if a process P2 is request and it is granted one more tape drive, then it is in also saved drive. But at the another time moment, if a process P0 allocates all its resource, all its need, at that time the system is go from saved to unsaved state. This is the example of saved state and unsaved state. Next technique for representing the deadlock avoidance by using a resource allocation graph algorithm. In some cases, deadlocks can be understood more clearly through the use of resource allocation graph. If that particular resource allocation graph contains no cycle, then the system is in not deadlock. But if a cycle formed between the graph, then the system is in unsafe mode. That means a system is in deadlock situation. See in this figure there are 3 types of edges, that are claim edges, assignment edges and request edges. What is an claim edge? The claim edge is from process to resource. The claim edge is from process to resource indicate that a process may request that a resource sometime in a future. Suppose if a P1 process requires the R2 resource in future, then the claim edge is found between the process to resource, and the claim edge is denoted by a dashed arrow. This is an claim edge. Then what is an request edge? Request edge is also from the process to resource. This is an solid arrow from a process to resource. For example, if a process P2 requires the resource R1, then the request edge is formed. The solid arrow is created in between the process and resource. And next there is an assignment edge. The assignment edge is formed in between a resource to process. That means a P1 process gets the resource R1. The R1 resource is allocated to the process P1. This is defined by the assignment edge. This is an resource allocation algorithm. In a resource allocation algorithm, or by using a resource allocation graph algorithm, we can easily identify the deadlock situation. By using a resource allocation graph, we are avoid a deadlock condition. The resource allocation graph is mainly used to avoid the deadlock situation into our system. This is a resource allocation graph algorithm. In today's lecture, we were seeing the deadlock handling condition. In that, there are two methods, deadlock avoidance and deadlock prevention. In a deadlock prevention, we were seeing there are total 4 conditions. By preventing at least one condition, we are going to avoid the deadlock situation. And next one is the deadlock avoidance. In the deadlock avoidance, we are seeing the safe and unsafe state, and next one is the resource allocation graph algorithm. This is the completion of your 4th unit. Okay, thank you.